So this morning you're working on a new topic. You'll end up with a new booklet, and the new topic is financial maths and recursion. So the exercises are on the front page of the booklet. You'll be doing today exercise 6.01 to do with simple interest. So the exercises in this topic are not in your textbook, so all the exercises have been printed into the booklet, so you'll be just using your booklet for this topic. So we're starting today with simple interest, and you'll see there in your booklet on the first page that there is a new formula that you need to learn. Interest is basically spare money, extra money, free money, you might want to say. If you borrow money or invest money in the bank, you earn interest or you pay interest depending on what you're doing. So if you borrow money from the bank, you need to pay back what you've borrowed plus a little bit extra, and that little bit extra is called interest. If you invest money in the bank, which meaning you're putting your own money into the bank, the bank gives you back that money at a certain point, and you have your money plus a little bit extra that the bank gives you for leaving your money there. So interest is calculated in a number of different ways. The most basic way is what we're doing this morning, called simple interest. So the three variables that are in that formula that we need to be able to work with are P meaning principal, R meaning rate or the interest rate, and T meaning time. Generally in that formula we use time in years, and interest rate per annum, also meaning in years. So per annum means per year. Interest rate is generally given per annum, and we generally use time in years also. You'll see a couple of examples this morning where we don't use time in years, and we need to do a little bit of adjustments to our formula to make that happen. So principal, just to be sure you understand what principal means. Principal, when we're talking in financial maths terms, principal is relating to the amount of money that we are starting the problem with. So if we have a look at example 1, you'll see, I'll just quickly run through the examples in the booklet that you can fill in your booklet and then start the exercise this morning. So if you see example 1, Yun borrowed $25,000 at a simple interest rate of 8.4% per annum for 6 years. So you'll see there we've got the three things that we need for our formula. Our principal is 25,000, our rate is 8.4, and our time is 6. So we've got the three variables given to us in the question, so we can use those three variables, those three numbers, and calculate the amount for interest. So the formula that we would use to calculate the interest that Yun has to pay would be the principal is 25,000. We multiply that by the rate, which is 8.4, and now my pen's not going to work now. And then we multiply that by 6 for the time, divide that by 100, and we'll be given the amount of money that is Yun's interest. So if you're doing that on the calculator, you'll see up the top there, you'll have to use a fraction template, and to get a fraction template you can control and divide, and then we type in our three values, divide by 100, and we see that the interest that Yun would have to pay is $12,600. So all that means is, as well as Yun paying back the $25,000 that he borrowed, he'd have to also pay back an extra $12,600 as interest. Now, this is one of the questions here where we might have to do a little bit of adjusting for this question. So you can see there that it's important that the units for the rate, so the interest rate, and the time are consistent. So if we're talking about the interest rate in example 2, you can see it's 6.35% per year, and we're talking in terms of time, 20 months. So the per year and the months doesn't match up. So we need to do something with that first before we can continue with that question. So we're still going to use the same formula. So we want principal and rate and time, but the formula wants us to have those units being consistent or the same. So what I think would probably be the easiest thing to do is to change the interest rate from being per year into an interest rate per month, and then we can use the formula as usual. So because we know there's 12 months in a year, we could change the interest rate to 6.35% divided by 12, and that would give me the interest rate divided into monthly pieces, I guess you could say. So if you're using the formula again for this question, if we're calculating interest this time, our principal is still 15,520. I can just tell by looking that 6.35 divided by 12 is not going to be a nice exact number. So I'd be more inclined to just leave it as 6.35 divided by 12 times by 20 months. So just your calculator's doing the brain work here, not you, so you don't have to worry about 6.35 divided by 12. So all that means is when you put that into the calculator, you'll need to use your fraction button twice. So when you make, I'll show you on the calculator, when you make that one into a statement for your calculator to work out, if you use your control divide button, you can start typing your fraction, and because 6.35 divided by 12 is also another fraction, just hit the control divide again on the top of that fraction and you use the button twice. When we calculate that, you can see it's a recurring decimal. We're talking interest amount in dollars and cents. So you need to round, that's why we did rounding before we did financial. 1642.53. So we round that off to dollars and cents. So $1,642.53. The next one is a nice easy one for you to calculate yourself. So Joseph investing principal 7500, rate 4.6, time 4. And we can see in example 3 it's an easy one with no adjustments required. Per annum interest rate and years in terms of time. So the interest rate and the time in this one already match up. So there's no need to do any adjustments on this one. So you would basically need to just use your formula, calculate Joseph's interest, and then find the value of his investment after 4 years. So you basically, for that one, will just add 7,000, my pen just does not want to work this morning, 7,500 that he's sort of started with, plus whatever the interest rate was for part, whatever the interest was for part A, and you'll get a total investment there. So when you calculate this one, $7,500 times by 4.6 times by 4 will give you the interest, and then we're going to put whatever that value is added on to the investment at the end of the 4 years. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to do that one yourself. That's pretty straightforward. Now, the only issue with this fourth question, this is exactly the same. There's only a couple of issues with this one. The terminology here, sometimes you'll see the words flat rate interest, and that means exactly the same as simple interest. So you need to be on the lookout when you're doing questions of this type. Sometimes it'll say simple interest, sometimes it'll say flat rate interest. It means exactly the same thing. So same formula, principal 10,000, rate 7.5, time 5 years. You can see our interest rate is per annum, our time is 5 years, so again no adjustments needed to the formula. So you'll do the first two parts exactly the same as you would with part example 3. And the only difference with this one is that there's one final question. If she was going to pay back the loan in monthly instalments, how would she do that? You have to figure out how many months there are in 5 years. So in 5 years, there's 60 months, and you would then have to divide your total amount by 60 months. Okay, so when you're doing that one on the calculator, I'll just pop down to the bottom there. You'll see my calculations are here. So the total amount that was needed to be paid in that last example was $13,625. When I divide that amount into 60 equal months, we get $227.08. Okay, so that is the examples. The questions I want you to do today in the class are exercise 6.01. You can see there that the answers are all there also. You won't really have enough space, I don't think, to do it in the booklet, so you might have to do some working in your maths book for this exercise. And hopefully, with those examples plus chatting to each other, you'll be able to do that without any issues. Okay, I'll see you next lesson.